Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Extra Lap. Today, we are very lucky enough to have with us professional runner for Tinman Elite, Drew Hunter. Drew, how are you today?
Doing well. Really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, Drew, you just to start off, you put together maybe one of the most phenomenal high school careers in running history, and the cherry on top in your career, I would say, is you breaking four in the mile. What was the just feeling breaking that barrier?
Yeah, I mean, the sub 4 minute mile has always been kind of a famous barrier. It's been, people at one point thought it was impossible. They thought you would, die if you were to ever run that fast for a mile. And so, going into my senior year, I had one goal, and that was to, break 4 minutes in the mile. I had the previous year watched a few high schoolers do it, and
Mhm.
I, got inspiration from that and really wanted to join the sub 4 minute club. And yeah, so I worked really hard my senior year to, have all my training kind of tilt towards that. And yeah, it was a really special moment. Like when I did it at the Armory, it was uh, I was training to do that, but it's kind of a surreal experience once you actually accomplish what you wanted to do. But then it was just get up the next day and kind of get ready for the next goal. So that's kind of what running is.
Definitely. The sub 4 minute mile is just this insane barrier. And I know not many people probably watching this are trying to break four in the mile, but what advice would you give someone who has just this one goal and it mentally it's just such a barrier to break? What would you give them to go get it?
Yeah, this may sound like funny advice, but I would say try a little bit less. I think a lot of people, like you just said,
Mhm.
they put a big barrier, they put a big goal, or they have some sort of aspiration that they have, and they get really fixated on it, and they actually kind of take out the fun of running, and they put too much pressure on themselves, and a lot of times they end up not accomplishing the goal. So, like when I was going for the sub 4 minute mile, I knew I always wanted to do it. But when I put myself in that race, all I was thinking of is, all right, how many guys can I beat? How many, like people can I pass in the last few laps? And when you focus on that kind of process, the overarching goal will take care of itself. And so for me, like, giving advice to anyone else, like, just don't overthink it. Just have fun, and you're going to accomplish your goals if you're doing that.
Definitely. I mean, it's so easy to just sit there and think about one singular goal, but it makes sense because you just got to let the race come to you, right? And
Yeah,
it comes to
absolutely.
comes. You can't
Hmm.
force something, and if you're in shape to do it, then just go do it. Well, Drew,
Hmm.
if I'm not wrong, you're wearing a Tin Man Elite hat right now, but there you
Always.
go, representing. So, as a professional runner, how would you say just going in every day, you still enjoy the experience?
Yeah, I mean, I get to train with my best friends every day, and I
Mhm.
get to show up to practice and see people that have invested in my career, and I've invested in their careers, and so that's really special. And I get to do that, 3 or 4 times a week when I show up to the track to meet everyone for runs or workouts, and I think there's a special bond that forms when you are out, on a hard tempo run or a hard long run, and it's just you and your teammates sharing that suffering together. So when you show up on the starting line, you look to your left and you look to your right, and you go, okay, I'm racing for a lot more than just myself. And so it's really special. It's something I'll cherish the rest of my life, and have felt like I've learned so much through being, on a team, and kind of like sharing the highs and lows of the sport together.
Definitely. And you said just going into, every practice and going through kind of a battle of workouts with your teammates, and then you step on the line, going from high school to professionally and just seeing a bunch of, your teammates on the line, does it change it at all going into the race or?
I'd say once you're on the starting line, your teammates are, competitors again, and you want to beat them. And there's kind of, it's almost, I'd say you're almost more motivated to beat them because, there's a lot of banter and bragging rights at practice and things like
Mhm.
that. But um, at the end of the day, you're still happy for them, even if they do beat you. I think that's a big difference. Like when I lose to someone that's not on my team, I'm not, thrilled. I always want to do my best, and I want my competitors to have the most, to do their best as well. But you
Mhm.
always want to finish in front of them. But for your teammates, it's more of a celebratory thing when they do. You're happy that they accomplished their goal and that they had
Mhm.
a good result.
Definitely. And this year is quite a big year because we're approaching Paris. So, what are your goals just upcoming with the
Mhm.
Olympics? Has your training shifted to reach the goals, or do you have any particular goals in general?
Yeah, I mean, the goal's always just be on the Olympic team this year. I really think, this is kind of the biggest year of my running career. This is the opportunity that you get every 4 years, and this is what we train for. And so right now, I'm really just focused on um, not overthinking things, just simple but productive training, stuff that I can do year round and be very successful with, and not have um, too many highs and too many lows of getting sick from overtraining, or
Mhm,
overdoing it and having maybe like a hamstring issue or something that's bothering you. I'm really focused on my health this year and being healthy.
mhm,
And yeah, that's how I'm going to make an Olympic team. I'm not going to do it from crazy intense workouts throughout a year. It's going to be just very simple, methodical, and practical training for
mhm,
for the next 6 months. And that's what we've been doing. I've just been focusing a lot of my energy towards threshold intervals, so
mhm.
stuff that on paper does not look flashy at all. Very long, slow intervals that really just build up your aerobic base and your endurance. And then, as we get closer to racing, we get to sprinkle in some fast intervals. But really, right now, I'm just setting up a foundation that will carry me through the summer months.
Definitely. And in your average week of training, is it mostly just thresholds, or what do you mix in? What does the average week look like for you?
Yeah, it depends on the week, but I'd say normally, there's two key workouts in the week and then a
Mhm,
long run on the weekend. So, and right now, like those workouts are really focused around threshold training. So for me, threshold is um, right around 5 minutes to 5-10 minute miles. So a lot of intervals in that range, and really kind of seeing how many miles we can get, in that kind of range right now. And I've done a lot of stuff like 1K repeats, mile repeats, 2K repeats, 400-meter repeats, and really just cycling through that, mixing up rest. The shorter the interval, the shorter the rest. So with 400s, we take, 30-second rest, and with 1Ks, we make it a minute, and miles 90 seconds. So, but
mhm.
really, really simple right now. I'm just focused on, like I said, just getting in as many miles as I can at threshold. I show up and have so many great teammates that I can just hop in with, take a few reps. But we really don't overthink it right now. It's not that complicated, and
Mhm.
I have some cross country races coming up that I'm going to do, and so we're trying to get really strong for a 10K, and then hopefully start to dial things down from there.
Definitely. And we see for runners like yourself, you try to stick with the longer events and then you try to work your way down. What's the science behind that? What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot easier to approach a race when you have a really good like aerobic base behind you in training. I mean, people don't realize this. I think a lot of maybe new runners, they see how fast 1500-meter runners are running, and they see how
Mhm,
fast people even in the 5K are running. They think, oh my gosh, they must be doing speed work all the time. But for
mhm,
most of the race, those runners um, are using their aerobic power to sustain their running economy and running form. So it's
mhm,
like for most of those athletes, they are actually cruising through most of the race, and then by the time that a lap or two to go, they start to really dial in on the anaerobic side of things, and so the faster side of things. And but we want to cover as much of that 90% of the race as we can, and so training that aerobic system is always the priority and will always be the priority from races, longer than the 1500.
definitely. And for anyone listening, could you please explain running economy? And
Yeah. So when I mean my running economy is, when you are out running, like I said, 5 minute threshold miles, that is training your body for, to be aerobically economical. So basically, so
Mhm,
that when you're in the race and you're early on and you don't have lactic acid in your legs, and you're not, feeling really beat down, you're super efficient. And then as the race gets on and you start to, have that feeling in your legs, like, oh gosh, here it comes. That's more when you're anaerobic. And that's more when, you have to rely on, the 200s that you've practiced and the hill sprints and more technical type things. So yeah, like running economy is really important early on a
Mhm.
race to be relaxed and focused on, just wasting as little energy as possible.
Definitely. Well, Drew, we went to the people, the followers of the page and asked them for some questions, and they always come through. So my first thing I gotta say is I have a little confession to you. I'm a Rhode
Let's
Island
hear it.
runner. So going through those mile split video, there's one in particular from the Penn relays. I bet you're a little familiar with a little LaSalle. What went through your mind? Because watching it, it looked like you had no shot to come back on the last leg. So, well, what happened through that?
Yeah, I mean, when our first leg fell, it kind of was, worst case scenario. But like most things in life, you have an opportunity to um, take what you got and run as hard as you possibly can and give it your all, no matter what the situation is, and then you can walk away from that race proud. So I told myself when Colton fell, as soon as I get the baton, you're just going to run as hard as you possibly can for 1,600
Mhm.
meters. If you don't catch him, that's okay. If you do, that's great. That's even better.
Yeah,
It's the Penn relays. The crowd's really loud, and so every lap I could hear myself getting closer and closer and closer, and hear. Sorry, I could see myself, but I could also hear the crowd, getting louder and louder as I got closer. And so, yeah, I just focused on that. And once you're in contact with a runner, um, race instincts just kick in. You start to you get the adrenaline boost, and you just kind of have this. Winner take all mentality where you're like, I just have to be the first one across the starting line. And I've always had kind of that extra little boost if there's a really close race on the line. And I had just enough to win. And especially in a relay where you have three other teammates relying on you to get it done. And that was always my goal. I really wanted to win a DMR title with my team, my high school team. And so that was a really special one.
definitely. And the next question was, how do you deal with races?
Forget about them. I always tell people, give yourself an hour,
Mhm.
be upset, do what you got to do, but then you got to move on. Like dwelling on it doesn't help the situation at all. If anything, it actually probably hurts a little bit. There's always another opportunity. So don't, focus too much on the poor result, but focus on what you can do going forward to not have that happen again.
Definitely. And so you had the great opportunity of winning a indoor world title. So one of the questions was, what was the feeling while crossing the line?
Yeah, so that probably was a USA title. I'm guessing. I
Mhm.
wish I won a world title. But yeah, so anytime you win a USA title, it's you know, a huge accomplishment. I mean, the US is incredibly deep and very, very good at distance running. So for
Mhm.
me, it's like, I don't take those moments for granted. It's really special anytime I get to step on the starting line and compete for a USA title. And yeah, when I won, it was a very special moment. It was the first one title I've won, and
Mhm.
I haven't had too many of those moments since then, so it's always something that I can look back on and be really proud of.
Definitely. And another question is how is it being coached by your parents for Tinman? I think it's really
Yeah, I mean, it's probably how every kid imagines being coached by their parents. There's awesome moments, and then there's
yeah.
really brutal moments. Like your parents are your number one fan and they really want the best for you. So having that in the back of your mind is always awesome. But it's also, it's a very close working relationship and there's a lot of things you have to work through. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of, tensions that maybe, have had built up over the years, even outside of running that maybe you bring to practice. And so it's really important that both you have, a set goal of what you want to accomplish and then you can work towards that vision together. But I can definitely tell you, if I'm to make the Olympic team this year and be successful, sharing that with my parents will be one of the coolest things that you can accomplish in this life.
Definitely. And you're a co-founder of 10 Man Elite. So how did that come to be? How was there just a dream that you've had or
Mm-hmm.
what went into starting it? Was it a smooth journey or was there bumps in the way?
Always bumps. Life is not smooth, but
Hmm.
just with Tinman Elite, I moved out to Boulder. I didn't know anybody, and I was fortunate enough to convince a few guys to move out there and bet on me and say. And I told them like, "Hey, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know if this is going to be successful, but let's try to build something special and let's try to push the sport of running forward as much as we can." And yeah, it's been a dream come true to be able to support so many men and women now through our team and through our sales of the merchandise that we sell and the media stuff that we put out. Like that is I never could have imagined would have been this cool. And we got to make a shoe with Adidas, which is really really special. And
Hmm.
yeah, I've been able to do and accomplish so many things through that aspect of the sport that sometimes even the running stuff feels like almost like secondhand accomplishments compared to some of the stuff I've been able to do off the track.
Definitely. And if I'm not wrong, you're the first ever high school athlete to ever go professional. And one of the questions was, what was it like just going from being a senior in high school to being a pro?
You grow up really quick. I think college is kind of an interesting place for people where they kind of have 4 or 5 years to slowly kind of grow up,
Hmm.
slowly enter some more adult type behavior. But I jumped right from high school, living with my parents, into being in an apartment with someone across the country, not knowing anybody, having to pay taxes, having to cook my own food and all that
Hmm.
stuff. And um, I don't regret any of it. It's been incredibly special and fruitful, and I'm super blessed that I have so many great people in my life that I could always reach out to and ask questions, and I have so many great mentors that have kind of guided me along the way of whenever I was feeling lost or feeling kind of confused about what the next step was. I had a lot of people that helped push me in the right direction.
Definitely. And was in your training, what is something that you've done that just made such a big impact?
The best training advice, and it's the best running years I've had have been when I didn't overcomplicate things and I just got out the door every day and ticked the box what I needed to do. I think the years that I've struggled and had injuries are years when I've tried crazier training or harder workouts or things that maybe would help me for 1 or 2 races, but not at the whole year. And so I'm really trying to get back to kind of simple training and simple, getting back to just what makes a runner good, and that's getting out the door every day consistently for weeks, months, years.
Definitely. I think there's this saying in running where the hardest season is the season after a good one. And what would your advice be to that? How would you come off a good season and just keep the ball rolling?
Yeah. By doing the same thing you did the previous year. I think a lot of people overcomplicate things and say, "Oh my gosh, I ran PRs last year, or I, broke a world record, or whatever level it may be. Made it to the state meet,
Mhm.
whatever." All goals are, all. Anytime you reach a goal, you have to kind of evaluate like what you did to get there. And I think a lot of runners get greedy and they say, "Okay, well, if I reach this goal by doing this much mileage, I need to." Run 10 or 15 more miles a week. And I think a lot of great advice is if you could just stay where you're at and just keep doing more of what got you to that point, you're actually going to have continued success. And I wish I knew that at a younger age. I always was kind of hungry to bump up the mileage, and that resulted in some bad injuries and some years of kind of, lackluster results. And I wish that young Drew knew that if you just keep doing what you're doing, stay healthy, that, you're going to be able to slowly get better every year.
Definitely. I feel like a lot of people have a misunderstanding where once they hit a PR or something, they set it as their baseline and they compare all results to their best, result, and it becomes a huge hole. So, what advice would you give to someone where they base themselves strictly off a PR?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely don't want to fall into the trap of having your whole identity be tied in with your running. And
Mhm.
there's so much more to all of us than just distance runners. We have a lot more to give to the world than, just a race result, a mile race result. It's actually pretty funny when you say it out loud how much worth we tie into, something as silly as running around in a circle. And obviously it's meaningful and important to us. And,
Mhm.
finding those things are really critical to, having a fruitful life. But at the end of the day, um, you know, we're complex human beings and we have so many other things that we can offer to the world and to the people in our lives. And I think just really important to remind people of that. Like it's just running. Like have fun with it. Connect with people, meet new people, push yourself. Challenge yourself. Like those are all great things. But at the end of the day, if it's taken from you, you're still an amazing human, and you still have so much to give this world.
Definitely. What hobbies do you have outside of running?
That's funny. I just became a dad, so
Oh,
my hobby right
congrats.
now, yeah, thank you. My hobby right now is something like that. I'm a very all in person. My friends can attest to this. Like I really like being good at things. So a lot of my hobbies are things that I'm good at and things that are, things that I really want to pursue all in. Like I'm not the person that can go golfing once a
Mhm,
month and be crappy at it. I would have to go, a few times a week and really take it seriously. So I don't have that hobby. But I would say right now, my biggest hobbies are just learning. I know that sounds like a funny hobby, but I'm
mhm,
obsessed with reading right now. I've been really diving into kind of like the entrepreneurial and business books and really, kind of like learning more about finances and money and stuff.
mhm.
And that's been a big interest of mine. And I'd say that's currently my big hobby is just learning. I just love learning right now. I want to always learn the rest of my life. And I feel like there's so much out there and there's so many people out there that can teach me things. So I'm just a sponge with that stuff.
Definitely. And was there a certain point in your career thus far where when did you realize that running was just for you?
I'd say, when I was pretty early on and had some success, I definitely caught the running bug, as I like to say. Like I definitely fell in love with the sport and, felt like I had a lot to give to running. And I still feel that way. My relationship with running has definitely shifted. I think it used to be kind of Drew Hunter and runner were pretty synonymous with each other. Like there wasn't much
Mhm,
of a separation. Now I feel like I have a family and I have other things that I'm pursuing outside of running that definitely make me feel a little bit more like a well-rounded individual. And yeah, but I definitely, I knew early on that I was a runner and I always will be a runner the rest of my life. Like I absolutely love going for a morning run to start my day. And even when I'm done with professional running, I will always look forward to getting out the door, year round just for a few miles. Or I always will look forward to the opportunity to sprint up a hill if I can on an easy run. And
mhm,
I love how running feels. I love how it makes me feel. I love the community. So it's
mhm.
definitely going to be a part of my life forever.
Definitely. And if you were not a runner, what sport would you do?
That's a good question. I don't know. I definitely think that I always say now, like I just had a daughter and she can do whatever sport she wants, but I'm really interested in tennis. I think
Mhm,
like that seems like I don't know. I love the idea of trying to learn tennis at some point in my life. It just sounds really fun.
mhm,
It kind of has, endurance, athleticism, definitely a lot of, hard work put into it to be really good. And I just think it's a really cool sport that I haven't really explored yet. So I want to say it would be really cool to be a tennis player. And, that would be really kind of a cool thing to explore at some point.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Drew. It was amazing having you. Thank you everyone for watching. Till our next lap. Thank you.